A powerful avalanche occurred in the Alta ski resort area of Salt Lake County, Utah. It happened at 11 a.m. A huge mass of snow, about 100 meters wide and up to 3 meters thick, fell on a slope in the backcountry area where experienced skiers were skiing. 2 tourists, a man and a woman from Colorado, were buried under snow at a depth of almost 2 meters. Eyewitnesses immediately called for help, and rescuers with dogs, drones and snowmobiles arrived at the scene within 10 minutes. The operation was at its limit. The snow was dense, visibility was almost zero due to the wind, but after 40 minutes, the victims were found by the signal from their avalanche beacons. Both were pulled out alive, albeit with severe hypothermia and bruises, and were immediately taken by helicopter to a hospital in Salt Lake City. Doctors say their condition is stable, but they will need several days of observation. Authorities immediately closed all slopes within a 10-mile radius, including the neighboring resorts of Brighton and Snowbird, and installed avalanche danger signs on the slopes. This morning in Phuket, a bus with 35 Russians overturned on the Chalong-Karan highway. The accident occurred at 9 a.m. The driver lost control on a slippery road after a night of rain. 12 people were injured, mostly bruises and cuts. 3 were taken to hospital with suspected fractures. Local residents broke windows, helping passengers get out until rescuers arrived. Police and medics arrived 15 minutes later. The victims were taken to clinics. 5 have already been discharged. The Thai authorities have launched an investigation. They are questioning the driver and examining the condition of the bus. The Russian consulate in Phuket has joined in, helping tourists with documents and insurance. The travel company has not yet commented, but promises support for the victims. This night, Novosibirsk, Russia was covered by a snowstorm, a rare phenomenon with lightning and blizzards. Thunder woke up city residents at 2 a.m. Snow fell until the morning. The temperature dropped to minus 17 degrees. Winds of 20 meters per second tore down wires in 5 districts. Power engineers repaired the networks all night. Rescuers and utility workers brought out 200 vehicles to clear the roads, removed snow from 80 kilometers of highways. The city mayor called on drivers not to go out because of the ice. The police increased patrols on the streets. Forecasters say this is an anomaly for March, but by the evening the weather should calm down. Cascais in Portugal is suffering from a storm. Waves up to 12 meters are destroying the coast. The embankment is in ruins. 15 houses are flooded. The water reached the first floors. Rescuers evacuated 50 families. Fishermen were forbidden to go to sea. The mayor ordered to strengthen the dams with sandbags. Teams are removing debris from the streets. Winds of up to 90 kilometers per hour and rains have been raging since the morning. The Weather Service has declared a red alert. Residents are prohibited from walking near the water. Police are patrolling the coast. The storm may last until Monday. Rescuers are preparing for new challenges. Today, Rembang County in central Java was flooded. Heavy rains raised the water by 1.5 meters in 40 villages. 5,000 people were evacuated. 200 houses were destroyed. Bridges were washed away. Rescuers are taking residents out on boats. The military is distributing food and blankets to the victims. The Java-Surabaya highway is blocked. Transport is at a standstill. The governor declared a state of emergency and asked for help from the central authorities. The Weather Service predicts more rain by night. The water level may rise. Authorities are preparing temporary camps and checking dams to avoid new breakthroughs. On March 21st, a fire near Margaret River in Western Australia generated a smoke whirlwind. The fire has already engulfed 1,200 hectares of forest, and the whirlwind rose 200 meters due to heat and winds of 60 kilometers per hour. More than 150 firefighters are fighting the flames. Helicopters are helping from the air, dropping water and foam. 300 residents have been evacuated from the villages of Grindal and Caves Road. They were placed in schools and gyms. Authorities closed Highway 10 to avoid casualties among drivers. The weather forecast is not encouraging. Heat and drought can intensify the fire. The state government has allocated $2 million to extinguish and help the victims. Rescuers are working around the clock. Panama was shaken today by an earthquake measuring 6.2 on the Richter scale, the strongest tremor in the country in recent years. The epicenter was in the Pacific Ocean, 50 kilometers from the city of David, at a depth of 10 kilometers, and the first tremors struck at 7:30 in the morning local time. They lasted about 20 seconds, but that was enough for people in the capital, Panama City, and the province of Chiriquí to run out into the streets in panic. Windows in homes and offices cracked, dishes fell from shelves, and cracks appeared in old buildings. Rescuers immediately began to tour the areas. In Chiriquí, 3 residents received minor injuries from fallen objects. They were taken to local clinics. No serious damage has been recorded yet, but the authorities are not relaxing. President Laurentino Cortizo called an emergency meeting and ordered that key facilities be checked. Bridges, hospitals, schools, and the dam on the Chiriquí Viejo River. Engineers are already examining the Centenario Bridge, where eyewitnesses noticed vibrations, but it held up. In Tyumen, Russia, this morning, 12 lighting poles fell onto the Tyumen-Omsk highway. It happened at 8 a.m. A wind of up to 25 meters per second was able to knock down the structures. No one was hurt, but 2 cars were dented. Rescuers and road workers are removing the debris. The police have closed 5 kilometers of the road. Power engineers promise to restore the light by evening. The mayor's office is checking all the poles in the city. The governor ordered to find out whether it was a defect or an act of nature. Drivers are advised to bypass the section through Yalutorovsk. The police are monitoring order. In the Krasnodar territory, Russia, a major incident occurred at an oil depot in the Cascais district. An explosion occurred due to a depressurization of the burning tank, accompanied by a release of burning oil. The fire quickly spread to a second tank, and the area of the fire reached 10,000 square meters. As a result of the incident, 2 firefighters received minor burns and smoke inhalation. After first aid, they were taken to hospital. Their lives are not in danger. In addition, 3 units of firefighting equipment were damaged. Significant forces were mobilized to extinguish the fire, almost 500 people and 190 units of equipment. Today, the area of the fire has decreased to 1,250 square meters, and one of the 2 burning tanks has been completely extinguished. However, the second tank continued to burn, and work to extinguish it continues. Atmospheric depression Martinho hit Portugal. 84,000 homes without power. Winds of up to 100 kilometers per hour have torn down power lines in Lisbon and Porto. Trees have blocked roads. Rescuers are pulling people out of flooded cars. Power engineers are repairing networks, but the timing is unknown. The Prime Minister has opened shelters in gyms. Hospitals have been given generators. The Weather Service says the storm will peak at night. The rains will intensify. Residents are advised to stock up on water and not go outside. The police have increased patrols. Today, an earthquake measuring 5 and 8 points struck near the nuclear power plant in Bushehr in Iran. The epicenter of the earthquake was 20 kilometers from the plant. As a result of strong tremors, old houses and villages were damaged. The authorities say the nuclear power plant was not damaged. Radiation is normal. Rescuers are helping the victims. 2 are in hospital with fractures. Security at the nuclear facility has been increased. The military is checking roads and buildings. Geologists warn of possible aftershocks, but there is no panic. The government is reassuring residents and monitoring the situation at the station. The city of Korçë, located in southeastern Albania, experienced unexpected snowfall, accompanied by a sharp drop in temperature. Usually in March, the average temperature in Korçë is about 9 degrees Celsius. However, during this period, the temperature dropped to -1 degree Celsius at night and did not exceed 7 degrees Celsius during the day, which is abnormally low for this time of year. Such conditions have had a negative impact on agriculture in the region, especially on almond plantations, where frost can lead to the death of flowering trees and a decrease in yield. Local farmers and authorities are taking measures to minimize damage and protect crops from adverse weather conditions. The level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has reached a critical point, 425 parts per million, a record for the last 800,000 years. Scientists have recorded The concentration of CO2 is growing faster than ever, and this is directly related to human activity, the burning of coal, oil and gas, deforestation. Last year, the growth was a record, and in May of this year, according to forecasts, the level may jump to 429 ppm. This is an alarming signal. Such values not only accelerate global warming, but also disrupt the climate balance of the planet. Environmentalists are sounding the alarm. Heat, droughts, forest fires, and floods are becoming the norm, and glaciers are melting at a terrifying speed. Experts say that in order to keep warming at a level of 1.5 degrees, as required by the Paris Agreement, emissions must be halved by 2030. But so far, the world is going in the opposite direction. Authorities around the world are preparing an urgent climate summit to discuss new measures, from carbon taxes to green energy subsidies. Rescuers are already learning to cope with the consequences. They are training to put out large-scale fires and evacuate people from flood zones. Activists around the world are taking to the streets, demanding that coal stations be closed and oil production be stopped. Scientists add, if nothing changes, in 10 years the temperature could rise by 2 degrees, which means more hurricanes, crop failures, and refugees. Residents are advised to follow the news and prepare for change, because the climate crisis is already here and it affects everyone. Lake Karasun in Krasnodar, Russia turned pink, and this shocked local residents. The reservoir in the very heart of the city literally overnight acquired an unusual shade, from soft pink to bright crimson. People noticed the strange color in the morning, and by lunchtime they were already discussing it. Many say that the water has a strong chemical smell, while others note that the surface has become covered with a thin film. Fishermen are worried. Dead fish are increasingly being caught in their nets, and the seagulls that usually circled over the lake have disappeared. Scientists suggest two versions. Either it is algae like Dunaliella, which secrete a pink pigment in salt water, or chemicals are being dumped from nearby factories. Environmentalists have already taken samples of water and bottom silt and promise results in a day or two. The authorities have wasted no time. They have cordoned off the shore with bright ribbons and put up signs saying swimming is prohibited and fishing is prohibited. Rescuers are on duty in boats, making sure that children and curious people do not come close to the water. The police are patrolling the area, driving away onlookers who are trying to take photos against the pink surface. The regional governor personally ordered all factories and plants within a 10-kilometer radius to be checked, especially those that work with dyes or waste. Residents of the neighborhood complain. The lake used to be a place of rest, but now it smells of danger. Experts say if it is algae, the danger is minimal, but if it is chemicals, the consequences can be serious. Veterinarians are already checking pets that could have drunk from the lake, and doctors advise not to touch the water with your hands. While experts argue, city residents are wondering, will Karasun return to its previous appearance, or will it remain pink forever? Mount Etna in Sicily has woken up with renewed vigor. Today at 4 a.m. an eruption began, and fiery fountains up to 300 meters high began to shoot out of the southeastern crater. The sky over the east coast has turned red and orange, and hot lava is flowing down the slope for 2 kilometers, leaving a plume of steam and smoke. Ash has already covered Catania, Reggio, and a dozen small villages. The streets are covered in a gray layer, and visibility has dropped to 50 meters. Catania Airport has been closed since 6 in the morning. Planes can neither take off nor land because of the ash cloud, and passengers are crowding in the terminal waiting for news. Volcanologists have recorded a series of tremors of up to 3 points on the Richter scale, which preceded the emissions, and say that Etna's activity is increasing. Rescuers and firefighters are ready to evacuate residents of the villages of Santa Venerina and Zaffarana, where the lava is still 5 kilometers from houses. But the wind can speed it up. The authorities raised the alert level to orange, forbade tourists and climbers to approach the crater closer than 10 kilometers. The police set up cordons and fined violators. The mayor of Catania called on citizens to close windows and doors, wear masks outside, and not to panic, although cars are already sliding on ash and drivers complain of the smell of sulfur. Schools have been canceled, utility workers are raking ash from the roads, and farmers are counting the losses. Vineyards and olive groves are under threat. Experts predict that the eruption could last from several days to a week, and everything depends on whether new cracks open in the volcano. Rescuers are keeping helicopters and trucks ready to evacuate people from the risk zone at any time. Residents of Sicily are accustomed to the whims of Etna, but they have not seen such a sight for a long time. This is the kind of day we have today, friends. From snowstorms to blooming gardens, from tragedies to rescue missions. If you liked it, like, subscribe, and click the bell. There are even more stories ahead. See you in the next video.